Yeah. Okay. So you were from where?
So I'm sort of a nomad.
Okay.
I grew up in a military family. I claim to be from New York because that's where I grew up most, but we moved here from Maine.
Okay.
So after retiring from the military, I wanted to live on my pension alone, so I could spend time with my family. So knowing that that's a military pension, I have to go to places that have a relatively lower cost of living. So
absolutely.
But along with that, it has to be affordable. So we raised our kids, we homeschooled them. So it was important to us to live in an area where there was some upward mobility for the kids. So starting out, so coming here to Tennessee, what we've realized is that people like us are coming in. We're buying middle to higher end homes and properties, I think, which isn't the entry level for most young people. But what that does is it basically clogs up everybody that would be middle class moving up to those houses. Can't move up because they're all taken. So housing gets really, really expensive. And for these young kids starting out, I don't see a path where they're going to be able to afford it because the incomes are not commensurate with like a rent or a mortgage.
That's one of my main focuses because I've pushed the idea of industry in our community, and a lot of people have taken that out of proportion. As far as like me wanting to like turn this into Knoxville or Pigeon Forge or whatever, and that's not my intention. What it is you have to have a scalable lifestyle from grade school to high school to education to job placement. So that's what I'm looking at because we have TRW and we have places in Phipps Bend that are vacant, and there's supposedly a commitment from a couple of companies that were guided by the state to put facilities in here. But at the same time, I can't find a whole lot of information about it. But there's articles. But I'm potentially worried that we've been sold out because of the income that our county has produced, for decades.
Sure.
So is it, are those beneficial companies to our area, or are they taking advantage of our lower income nature? But now we're no longer in that status because like when I graduated high school, a good job was, $20 an hour. Or starting out, that was smoking.
That was good wage.
So that's 2005, 2006, and now, with the scale of everything, it's not proportional.
$20 an hour isn't going to get you.
So so there's places paying somewhere in the $30 range, but if you're looking at scalable, $20 an hour was way better than $35.
Sure.
So and part of the problem too is like we, as a community, complain about certain taxes being raised, but what affects that is when you have a housing market to where the state goes, okay, all these houses have raised in value, so they step in and they adhere taxes as well.
Sure, the unrealized capital gains tax.
Unrealized capital gains. So what happens is all the people that lived here their whole life and go, hey, I'm taking advantage. I'm gonna sell my home for 3 times of what it should be worth, and then they're also stepping back and going, hey man, property taxes are going through the roof. And I've talked with Michael Gillespie, the property assessor here, great dude, and he's like, hey, it doesn't matter who's in this office. If this continues to happen, the state's going to continue to step in.
Sure.
And it's out of my hands. It's out of, the countywide hands. But getting back to what you're saying is with affording stuff is, I don't know if you're familiar with the term generational mortgage.
Sure.
So, this has been a practice play in my eyes for 20 years. What they've done is they started with vehicles. So 20, 30 years ago, the longest you could get a vehicle finance for was 5 years, period. They wouldn't go over 5 years. And then over the last 2 decades. I
believe I've seen 84 months.
Cash, 8, 9, 10 years to finance a car, and it's at the same payment that 5 year was, but you're paying so much more in interest, and you're paying on a depreciating asset.
Absolutely.
Until it becomes a point of financial slavery.
You reach a point of no return where the car's not worth what you're paying for.
Yep.
So what do people do? They trade it in. So I hitch a lot of what you're saying with the financial side of it. So young people don't see this coming and thus you can't prepare for it. So I think we have a breakdown in the education system where we're sending kids out that can't read and comprehend. So all that little writing that it's there. Look, I don't read much of it. You don't read much of it, right? We sign it. We understand we're going to pay some interest.
Yeah.
But when you're young and you don't understand that, and you buy that fancy car because they're going to give it to me, no interest for 84 months. How great is that?
Yeah.
It's a depreciating asset, and people don't recognize that. So if you can, I tell my kids, so I have young kids. My oldest son's 20, my oldest is 30, my youngest is 22.
Yeah.
So they're kind of starting out. And I told them, the depreciation asset, which you just talked about, I said, don't get in that, right? If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Save your money, pay cash. But we're in a spot in society where people don't like having a 10-year-old car.
Yeah.
Remember when you were young, right? These jeans came from, I think, Walmart.
Yeah.
I can wear these things till they fall apart.
Yeah, these
young people want the expensive and trendy stuff because social media pushes that, and it's in their face every time they pick up the phone. So they want to have it, right? What's the merchant going to do? He's going to make it affordable.
Oh yeah.
And he's going to get them caught in that. It's a generational mortgage, but for your phone, for your car, for clothes. And you don't think about that, but it's on your credit card, right? So when my kids were getting ready to graduate high school, they were applying to college, and I said, listen, you're going to start getting applications for credit cards. $5,000. Just sign it and send it in.
Yep.
Why do you think they're sending that?
I have one credit card. It's got a $1,000 limit on it. I have all my vehicles are paid for. The 4Runner I'm driving right now. It's an '06 model and it's got 280,000 miles on it. I do not need to drive anything to show my value to people. That's an inherent lie in civilization, modern civilization. I can show you an F-250 on this street with a flatbed that he could buy every car on this street, and run them into the ditch. It doesn't matter. That's not what that shows you that you have value.
So we've gotten away from that as a society.
Yep.
And you recognize that as much as I do. So you graduated high school in 2005. So 2006. So really, I have these terms: a digital nomad. And a digital native. So my kids are on the cusp of being digital natives. They really don't know a society where they didn't have a phone. So my older son is 30. He had his first phone when he was 15. But these younger kids are growing up. You see it in the restaurants all over. Kids with these things in their face, right? They're getting sucked into this stuff of instant gratification. That's why it's tough to prepare for the future.
Well,
and it's tough to prepare for the future because it's so brutally expensive in these areas. So Tennessee, I think, is the 48th lowest overall tax burden state. In the contiguous U.S., there's only one state that's ahead, and that's Wyoming. Wyoming has the highest concentration of billionaires of any state.
Jackson Hole and Cody.
You don't think about it, right? So we're in probably the best spot for a young kid to start out. And it's all but impossible. So we moved from Maine. We saw the same thing in Maine. So Maine was a very blue state. And what we wound up with, so kids that graduate, so we live all the way up north in Caribou, Maine. When you graduate high school from there, you're going to go be a logger in the woods, or you're driving a truck for a logger in the woods. So they have a CDL program. They get the kids their CDL. You're working for the government or you're working in the woods. There's really no opportunity for these kids to get into a system where there's upward mobility. That's another thing. We don't want a job. We want to have a career. Now I get it. You're young. You're 18, 19, 20. You can go from job to job.
Go spend, go to concert, buy dirt bike,
find out what you like. What's interesting to you, right? Maybe HVAC. Maybe it's swinging a hammer for a carpenter. You find that thing that you're good at, but you have to be able to afford to live while you're learning and while you're starting to curve. And I think that's where we at Tennessee has had a problem. Now I looked at the long-term growth. For Northeast Tennessee, which is the 8 counties that comprise Northeast Tennessee, the projections only went out to 2040, and they project from 2040 7% growth in these 8 counties, population growth, up through 2040. That's a massive, massive pile of people coming in. So this situation isn't going to get better for young people.
No.
So when you talk about bringing businesses in, what I'm always skeptical of is these places come in, like you said, they're coming here for the cheap labor and low taxes, right? They're coming here to exploit something that we have. Now, if they're willing to give back a commensurate amount, that's okay, right? Everybody's here to make money. That's the object. So when these people come in and they're only offering $15, $16, $17 an hour jobs.
Or even 20.
We need 200 of these, right?
And it's a plateau. It's
that's
a
where you
plateau.
get stuck. So you jump in at $20 an hour and you think, man, this is great. I'm making $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm paying $2,000 a month for my house, $24,000 of that's gone
and
right
that's
away.
that's not even a decent, or I mean that's a comparable house now where that payment was probably $900 to $1,100 5 years ago.
So you're looking at $1,000 in disposable income after you've paid for your house. Now you got your car, your phone, your food, electric, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, and hopefully you haven't been sucked into the keeping up with the Joneses mentality.
And if they have, you're never going to get ahead.
Because I haven't had a vehicle payment since I was 21.
Smart.
Like I paid them off.
It's hard. It's hard to do though. It's hard to tell somebody. So nowadays, and I looked this up because I happened to find a letter that I wrote in 1988. I was living over in Sicily at the time, living in Italy. I was in the military.
Yeah.
So they had an overseas military car sales program there in 1988. They had a Chevy 1500 pickup truck sitting out there. I wrote it to my dad in 1988, and I read that letter. So that truck was $12,000 and something back in 1988.
Yeah.
So I figured out how many paychecks from what I was only making like $700 a month. I said, okay, how many paychecks? It was 29 point something months it would take to pay for that truck. That same truck today, an average kind of bare bones pickup truck, is about 50 grand.
Yeah.
So I took what I would be making right now if I were in the military at that same pay grade, and I ran the math again. It came out exactly the same. It went from 29.7 months to 29.5 months.
Yeah.
So your spending power is still on par with what it used to be, but the numbers are so much larger.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at being financially secure, and like as the job as the mayor is not really necessarily making people happy. Hopefully the decisions that you make fiscally do make people happy. Like me, myself, most of my property's paid for, but I do own my house. People's like, well, the mayor's seat comes with
That's an appreciating asset, though.
Well, absolutely, but they're like, well, what do you plan on doing with funds? Because it's elected officials through the county are state controlled, on the salary. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, what are you going to do with yours? I said over the next 4 years, my house will be paid for. Period. If it comes down to me, meal prepping at night, which I mean, I'm pretty financially, fiscally sound. I pay attention to what I have and what I don't have.
That's why you can do this.
Yeah. And then so like I can look at it and go, that's a decision that I'll take over the next 4 years is to buckle down, pay that off, and then by the time I'm 42, I have 40 acres and a house that's completely paid for, and I owe no debt to anybody other than monthly.
How do we take what you just said and put that into the brains of these high school kids, so when they come out, they know what you know now, right? So we had to learn this the hard way, right? Don't get sucked into credit, right?
Yep.
It looks sexy and is appealing for a reason, right? Because there's a hook buried in there.
Yeah.
So what is the path ahead? It's the mundane. It's the not sexy stuff. It's getting your clothes from Walmart. Yeah. It's buying great value brand instead of craft brand.
VA shoes.
Right? We buy these inexpensive things because we didn't grow up as digital natives getting bombarded with this. You have to have the cool stuff all the time. Oh, your shoes? Oh, you got these goofy shoes? No good.
And that's a thing too, which luckily I bought my property in 2017. So like right now I couldn't afford my property. Like that, it wouldn't happen. But so I bought it in 2017 and it's 40 acres and a nice house, a nice brick house. And like I said, I've always had paid off vehicles and like all my toys are paid off, and people have looked at me and they're like, oh, that must be nice. I'm like, you just bought a $78,000 Denali that you drive to a factory to work in. What is the point of that? Like you have a $1,200 to $1,400 a month vehicle payment, which covers my mortgage. Then you have insurance. And then you're paying fuel for that giant vehicle. I had
and its value is going this way.
Yep. And I had amongst all the crappy vehicles that I have, which I sold, it was a 06 Honda Civic that was absolutely roached out. It was roached out. It had a million miles on it, but it ran like a top. And because I had that crappy vehicle, it afforded me to actually own other crappy vehicles, because it was so cheap on fuel. Like if I compare the 33 miles a gallon to the 17 miles a gallon of the 4Runner, like I'm like, okay, I can drive this car for 2 months and it affords itself to pay for its own tax and insurance and everything else, and I can drive this thing anywhere. I've taken multiple trips with that thing to Pennsylvania, to Florida, to Berryville, Arkansas. And you know what? Everybody I passed, they're like, they probably didn't even realize they exist because like the bumper's scuffed, like the headliner's falling down. But I don't need to show up to a facility to exhume my worth. Like that's not.
People are coming up in a system that is based on that. It is based on what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of glass you wear, how old is your phone, your car, what's it look like? Do you pay someone to mow your lawn? We talked about this the other day. So up where we came from in Maine, right? It's difficult for people to get started out. So young kids that I coached in sports are starting land up there. You landscape.
Well, here
you
that's
mow
been
lawns
a
in the
big
summer,
thing.
and you plow snow in the wintertime. When you grew up, I mean, were there a lot of residential people getting their lawns mowed, painted? Not when I grew up. Like I never saw a commercial landscaper in a subdivision mowing.
Well, there was
lawns.
a lot of kids, like I mean, from the 2000s and on up, and most of these are actually still very close friends of mine that have done well for themselves, being an entrepreneur and working for themselves. Started mowing yards in high school afterwards, and then they started stepping.
The subdivisions were starting in 2000s, right? So we got these hundreds and hundreds of people who are working in the factory job somewhere, don't want to come home and mow their grass, and hey, I'll give you 20 or 30 bucks to mow it. Well, you get 10 of those. Now you're doing it, but this was an opportunity that didn't exist. When we were young, I would have loved to mow the lawns.
Well, and a lot of that goes back to you're talking about kids having their faces in phones. A big portion of that is, and I've seen this growing up, and I'm sure you've probably seen it to a level, is parents step back and they go, I didn't raise you like that. And then if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, it's like, how did you raise them? Okay, did you get home from work? Did you engage with them enough to where your thoughts, your processes, and your morals were instilled into them? Or did you go, hey, I'm tired, I'm going to eat dinner, and I'm going to sit on the couch, and I'm going to watch TV, I'm going to watch news. Well, I mean, like growing up, phones weren't a big thing. So my dad, he liked watching sports. I didn't care about sports. So I was left unsupervised quite a bit. And it probably, sometimes it worked out okay. Other times I was like, I probably got a little bit too much. But it's just like, so like now, we're talking the last 10 years, the technological, boom of everything. iPads, phones, tablets, just and then you have kids that obviously school curriculum has drastically changed. Some of it for the good, some of it for the worse. But then you have that. Then you have social media. Then you have the government stepping in. You have other kids' interactions. So you've got 4 or 5 of those constant blips in your kids' brains into their zeros and ones, just constantly feeding in. And then where do your zeros and ones fit in? And when you turn around, that kid's 25 years old, and you're like, well, they're lazy or this and that. It's like, did you take the time to teach them finances? Did you take them the time to work on their own vehicles? Did you take the time to show them that there's traits? Like my dad, he worked, and I'm not throwing off on him, but at the same time, like I could have experienced so much more. Oh, you're fine. I could experience so much more at a younger age, which my dad, he's admitted now. He's like, son, I was raised by the hair of my head, and he was. I mean, if you know my grandparents, and then that kind of funnels down, and it's like, and now he looks back and he goes, man, I really wish that I would have engaged more. And he's like, I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I was hot-headed.
Right? You don't know with your kids, right? You get one shot.
It's crazy to think. Like I'm almost like I'm pushing 40, but like my brain goes, I'm like 20, and it's like a lot of people. They're like, I don't feel like my thought process is 40 years old. I still feel like it's 20, but like your body
it doesn't change.
Is there. So you just got to keep. You got to keep informed, because like now, like I have a wealth of tools and knowledge to where as my son grows up, I can feed into him what values and integrity are that I see, and hopefully that his mother and his grandmother and his the people that are that need to influence him, what those values are, and the value for work, the value for honesty, the value for friendship, means so much more than a lot of stuff that's being pushed in school.
Even exists.
No,
So
and it's
what can you do as the county executive?
Yeah.
What are some things that that you could do or that we could propose to basically take these kids? Because I see the same thing you do. I'm out a lot. So I've been retired now for 16 years.
Yeah.
I retired in 2010.
Congratulations.
I had 22 years in the military. So from that time on, I've had a lot. I've coached sports. I've coached baseball. I've coached soccer. I've coached football. So I see a lot of kids from a bunch of different things, and the kids are not getting the things that you just went to, the litany of things that your father taught you, right? Friendship, working hard, tools and uses, things along those lines.
Yeah.
Most kids don't get that now because their parents didn't grow up. Their parents grew up sitting on a couch doing this, right? So maybe playing the Nintendo is what it was. So video games were around, but
I had it a little bit, but I was never a sit still person. Like I did well in school. I did well. I was in all honors classes.
Most kids, I think, have grown up. The parents
Yeah.
grew up with the Nintendos, right?
Yeah.
So they give their kid a device and put them on the couch when they get home because, that's easy. Right now, I can sit here, I can look at my social media and take care of myself.
Yeah.
Well, the kid's off to his own. And obviously, there are a lot of, not sexually predatory, but there are a lot of predatory things on there and trying to get kids to sign up, right? Catch their attention, right? Get them started now liking this, right? That endorphin every time you get that little ding or a little thing shows up.
I have one TV in the house, and my son does get to watch it, but it's usually after dark when we're slowing down for bedtime.
Do something outside.
And everything that is on is monitored, by me. There's not.
You're a rarity for sure.
Because people, they always come over, they're like, where are your TVs? I'm like, well, I have that one that's in the living room. There's no TVs in my bedroom. There's no TVs in my son's bedroom.
Live life.
I've got a garage full of toys and tools and stuff, and I like tinkering. I build tables. I shoot guns a lot. I used to travel and got to do that.
Something like that, for example. So there are kids out here that are hungry to do this kind of stuff. Kids that
I just didn't know it existed.
Is there a way that you could have a facility where we say, on a Saturday from, maybe 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Not super hard, but bring some kids out, bring some youth out. Look, we're going to talk about changing a tire on your car.
Yep.
How to change a tire, how to do your taxes.
Well,
all those little things.
I've been talking with the school superintendent, Matt Hickson, and so they have a very vast and growing array of CTE classes, which was vocational when we were in school. So I've been talking with him, and the first time I got to talk with him, we rambled on for like an hour and a half, and he's like, "This is great." He's like, "I've never had any type of conversation like this with any elected official in the county. Nobody's reached out to this level to sit down and go, hey, what can we do to produce a beneficiary
Definitely
in
doing
school?"
better for our kids.
So one thing that I really want to focus on is combining or just getting kids used to the fact that there is local government, because you go to pretty much any school curriculum, they're going to teach you the federal level, and they're going to teach you the Emancipation Proclamation, the Three Fifths Clause. They're going to teach you stuff throughout history, which there's nothing wrong with. Sure. But the fact that there's a level of local government that's exists
in use right now,
that they're using every day, and they used while I was in school and previous, I did not know any of that existed. So it's like, what can we do? Are there maybe conferences or just introductions from our county elected officials that go, hey, I am the property assessor, I'm the processor of deeds, I'm the mayor, I'm a county commissioner, and it's not like we have to jam this all in once. It can be within.
Why wouldn't that be incorporated into a civics class? Right. So I think when you make it classroom stuff, people are like, "Oh, gotta learn. This guy's gonna come in and drone on about he's this or he's that." It's got to be packaged in a way that is interesting. So we've been here in Rogersville for about 2 months. We were living in Chuckey for the last 4 years. That's where we first landed. So in Greenville, we went to the Starbucks at Ingalls almost every day. Yeah. And I did this. I talked to people a lot. So the kids that come through there, it's just a revolving door of youngsters coming in there. So what I started doing was money. Money motivates, right? So there's 3 or 4 of them back there. I'll come in one day and I'd be like, how many senators and congressmen do we have total? I got a 20, a 50, a 100
Yeah.
maybe, depending on what it is, right? So I'm trying to get them involved. So I would say something to the effect of, who's your state representative?
Yeah.
I have no idea. So to your point,
What's the three bodies of government?
did you see the sheriff? Did you see the sheriff from North Carolina? He was asked what branch of government he works for, and he said the sheriff's department. And they said no. So he said, well, what are the three branches of government? This sheriff, I mean, he's older than me.
Yeah.
He couldn't name them. He didn't know the branches of government. He didn't know what branch he fell under.
He finally said executive.
No, he said he fell under the judicial. He said, no, you are not judicial. You're under the executive. You're the executive. So we have people, grown adults, who don't know this stuff. Kids today, to your point, don't know the local government, how it operates, how you get it.
Most kids don't even know our state capital.
State senator, state representative, right? You're federal. Like, some of them can get, Marshall Blackburn. Ask them who the vice president is. They don't even know that.
Yeah.
Secretary of State, you're really reaching the weeds now.
Or like I can't even remember. Like I said, I don't even have cable. But there's, you'll see skits on Facebook or whatever where people like walk around the boardwalks, and they're like, what country did we win our independence from?
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Or like, when was the War of 1812? And they're like 1980. I'm like, wow, because I don't know everything. Like, there's so many things that I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, and I pay attention to what's in front of me.
I want to know. If I don't know, I look it up. And he's probably like, oh my god.
Well, the thing is, like, we have the Google now. It's just like there's conversations which Google now is more so paid for what you're looking for. But when I was in high school, little out of high school, like when you typed into Google before they started paying for that, what pops up, you could literally find an answer to anything. It's like, why are we having arguments? Like, we can find all the information we need immediately.
Right.
Well, so what information are you finding, right? So
now
you're going to find what you're looking for. You're right. So it's
paid for.
It's been snipped down, and it's been
castrated.
Yeah.
It's made to give you what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if that's whatever the red meat is that you're looking for, they're going to give it to you, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps the engagement going.
Yeah.
So we have a problem with digital, right?
Yeah.
Young kids growing up in the digital age and not learning much from it, despite having the wealth of human knowledge to date in your hand, right? But they don't use it for anything.
And here's a huge thing. So I was pushed by my guidance counselors in the school system that goes, if you don't go to college for business or IT or technical job or whatever, that you're pretty much gonna be worthless.
Sure.
But myself, I went dual enrollment. So I went through vocational, I went through welding, and I had all honors classes. And then I went to your college, and that drove me nuts. I hate sitting still.
Sure.
I don't want to.
It's not for everybody.
And then this job, people are like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to go interact with our community.
I want to be out there.
Like, don't worry about trying to find me behind closed doors and buried in the office. I'm going to be in the community. And my phone number has been on my Facebook page since it's been created. That's 15 years ago. I've had the same phone number for, I don't know, since I was like 14 or 15. So if people need to get a hold of me, right there it is. To say that, well, we couldn't get a hold of you, that's impossible. But this is, I want to be in the community. I want to work with places. And going back to the industry thing, it's like, it's not only bringing new people or new industries or new businesses to the community, it's also working with what we have here and going to them and going, hey, what do you think your three failures are, and what do you think the three benefits from the county are? So what I mean by that is, okay, on the point of failures, is it job retention, is it skilled labor, and is it pay? So where does that fall? Like, are you guys paying enough for skilled labor, or are you paying enough for these steps of what you're getting? Mm-hmm. If your job retention's low, is it because there's not enough skilled workers here, or is your job retention low because you're not paying enough? So as a county, what can we do to help push people towards your facilities, your businesses, your factories, whatever it is? And that doesn't just have to be the big guys that are employing 500 or 600 people. Like I started a business. I had a welding fabrication shop, mechanic shop, 2012, somewhere in there. And dude, it was like impossible for me to like find the skilled labor, which I was a niche deal. But there was guys that were willing to learn, but I didn't have time for the guys to learn. I needed a guy that could come in there, step in, do the work, and then let me run the business. Let me, do what I need to do.
You go find the work.
Go find the work, build it, and go from there. And I'm not saying, this is a pity party or anything, but if there's elected officials that are in offices going, hey, we need this, it's like when somebody applies for that business license, it's like, okay, I see that you've applied for this. And we also work with this business that are kind of in the same formal industry that you are, but they're in different parts of the county, and they have said that they would work with us to help businesses thrive. So it's just like, like, why can't we have a level of trust communication with the county and the community to go, hey, we're here to help all the time, not just when you're suffering when you get started. We throw this big,
everybody's, the government is bad, and they don't want to engage you until they need to engage you. So what I found sitting on the selectmen's board was we had twice monthly meetings, and we would have the same 3 or 4 people show up. Nobody else in the community would show up, right? But when something happened, right, they'd come in the office and they'd be like, raging about, the salt mixture that we're putting down or whatever. Well, how come this? So look, if you came to the meeting, you would know, you have this information. So there was a fella, he was a contractor in our town, and he came to every single meeting. He did not miss a meeting, and he would say, hey, we need to ditch, or we need to do the trees out on this road. Now, he's a contractor, so we would, of course, okay, this needs to be done. We would put out, the request, right? And we'd get bids on it. He was almost always the only bidder because we lived out in the boonies, right? Yeah. Well, people would complain to me, well, you're in Roger's back pocket. You do everything he says. So he comes to the meetings and he tells us that these things need to be addressed. We go out and address them. If you come to the meeting and tell me you have a problem, I promise you, I will come out and I will address your problem. I'll be there. I want, like you, I don't want to sit in the office and wait for people. I'm always out driving around town, stopping and chatting with people, seeing what they're doing.
Well, I seen your truck out there immediately come back in. So, I'm a sociable person, and I honestly want to try and, there's some things that need to be fixed. There's some things that could go on the way they are, and then there's some things that obviously need to change.
Well, I think that with all the people coming in here, right, so people like me, right, we're the problem in that we choke out a lot of housing. Yeah. We don't really take a lot of jobs because most people aren't here to work, but we come with a wealth of knowledge, skills, and abilities that could be translated to somebody, right? So most of the people have been successful in whatever vein they've done, right? Yeah. So let's isolate those things. What makes people successful? What made you successful relative to everybody else that you graduate high school with? So good instincts, good growing up, good morals, good work ethic, the ability to read and comprehend. I say far and away, if there's one thing that you're going to learn to read and comprehend, because with that, there's nothing. You can read and comprehend anything online. You can read and comprehend anything that's on that form that you got, because government forms, there's a lot of stuff.
And most of the time when people really want to comprehend something is when they're pissed off.
Right? I'm angry, I want to be right.
I want to be right, so I'm going to sit here on the computer or behind all these notebooks and everything, and I'm going to sit here until I'm confidently going to be mad in front of somebody else. And the thing is like, I want to continue, I don't know if you're aware of anything, but I've consistently put out articles, I've put out videos, I've talked to people consistently through social media since the day I decided to run. And like, to me, that's a level of transparency that I want to continue. So whether it's me or somebody that's in the office or both of us or as the group, in the mayor's office, I want to continue this. Whether it's me addressing the community or being able to go into facilities, whether it's JTH or whatever, and talking with them and going, hey, we have a drive to make our community better, and if there's something that we can do for you guys, whether it's through a grant or through schooling, vocational classes that we might not be aware of that you guys could possibly need, what does that look like? So to continue that growth and become a tight-knit community. It doesn't have to be show up with pitchforks when you get this information, because we've had a few issues over the last couple of years that's turned into that. And you have the angry citizens that showed up in force and go, we're not going to deal with that. And some of them are warranted and some of them are misinformed. But I think when you consistently put out information that needs resolution, the good things that you're doing in the county, things that have happened in the county, and you're keeping a face to where it's not an abrasive fact when something does come up that is serious and needs to be addressed, so the pitchforks can stay at home, but the community shows up and go, hey, I know that our elected officials are working for us, but here's our concerns with what's going on in the community, because between our commissioners and our boards and the mayoral seats, and that's a very limited number of people comparatively to the members of the county. So if you want us to work for you, we have to know what you're interested in and what you want pushed, because there's a lot of people that'll show up with their pitchforks and they go, this is absolutely inconceivable. And then the people go, okay, we agree with you. And then the rest of the county, because it didn't necessarily affect them at the time, but the decision that they made now affects the rest of the county, and everybody goes, well, what happened? It's
I didn't know about that.
And then, so here recently, it's political season, so the candidates are doing their best to arrive and show face at every event that they can. But at the end of the day, we're all still humans. And we have families, but I'm the only one with a son or son in the school system or growing up in the community. But so I have him, and then it was a Sunday, and somebody got online and was trashing candidates for not showing up to that event, and I'm like, hey, I was at that event with my son. You didn't label me. That's fine. I wasn't there to be listed in your quest. But you did label the people that had floats. I didn't show up. I showed up with my son because it was Easter egg hunt. And then there was another sheriff's candidate that got left out. And people addressed that in the comment section. And then the person that made the post didn't even update the post and go, hey, sorry, I missed a few people, but this is still my point. It's just like, no, let's leave our pitchforks at home and go, these people are still people that have families, that have lives, that have responsibilities, that have yards, they got dogs, they got kids, whatever it is. Let's keep our pitchforks up until we need our pitchforks. Now, I think on our federal level, do we need pitchforks? Yeah, we need way more than pitchforks in certain situations.
You need mechanized equipment.
Technicals. But anyways, so we still have that level, and I've called out some things and some people, and it's been purely fact. It's not been, well, I think this person is this. That I've stayed away from that. And some people they're like, you should run your own race and everything, but we have forgotten how to be a bold member of society without being an abrasive member of society, and we have to learn that being bold doesn't make that person an aggressive person. It's like, hey, here's an issue. This is how we're going to tackle it. I'm sorry that my language or the way I delivered it was harsh to you, but I want to be very clear on what we're tackling and the way that we're going to tackle it. If I order food, I want to pronounce and convey exactly what I want when I order it. And that's the same way that I want to tackle situations. I don't want to stand on the fence and go, well, I want to make this guy happy until that fence until that fence is so tall, whatever decision you make hurts you either way, because if you take too long to make a decision, everybody that agrees with you goes, well, finally, and then everybody that disagrees with you, well, that guy, I know he's been an idiot.
So I think politics, being a politician is a lot like being an umpire or a referee. And I always say, you called.
Well, I'm a community member.
You called a really good game. Yeah. No one chases you to the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
So you can say
Yeah.
Well, that call went in their favor.
Yeah.
Well, to make these guys happy over here because they're ready to chew my head off, I'm going to make a call in their favor.
Yeah.
Make the call that you make the call, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what you're saying is like if something needs to be said,
Yeah.
say it to convey what needs to be said. Right? We don't need to be harsh. We don't need to be jackasses about it, but let's not leave anything for speculation either, right? Well, what did he mean when he said this? Well, if you tell me something, I know exactly what you meant because you told me.
And that's why I addressed, previously because of first videos was like me wanting to bring industry in, and then people go, well, our farms, we've lived here. I never said anything about that. Like, and then I made a statement going, let me be very clear about this. And then I also
you can never be clear enough.
No, right? and then I used the word progressive in a statement that I made, and a couple of people called me out on it. I'm like, that is a word.
Yeah, but it's been co-opted.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's been branded. It's been branded by a side.
Yeah.
But I'm like, did you not watch or read anything else that I've posted that to where the one word out of the probably 15,000 that I've put out there, like you're focused on that, and I don't know where it's at in there, but it's a word. And it was talking about the industry being like, hey, let's, progress to scale our kids' schooling jobs. I'm not saying we got to blow up. I'm just saying we need to be able to feed what's here.
Well, we're just saying, look, the way we've been doing it isn't being productive, right?
Yeah.
Our scores and grades in school are going down.
Yeah.
They have been for 25 years.
Yeah.
So we need something different. So my solutions are X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
However, I encourage anybody with a horse in the race to come to the meeting, together we have a solution, right? If I'm the only one coming up with a solution, it's probably not going to be one that everybody likes, right?
Yeah.
We need to have enough people
We have
to come
group
in,
thought.
give the ideas, right? But that's the thing. So I found out when I was as a selectman up there, nobody wants to come to this selectman meetings, right?
No.
So we tried changing the times from 5:30 to 7:30, thinking people are getting home because everybody's got stuff to do, right? You work all day, you want to get home. The last thing you want to do is go sit in a government meeting so you can, and most of the time it's boring.
You know what it boils down to, how people vote is, the way I look at it is most people vote with the confidence of, if I vote for this guy, I trust him enough to have me in mind when I'm out there.
Sure, and I think smaller scale elections, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
I can sit here and I can talk to you and I can get to know you. Marshall Blackburn's never going to sit here. Bill Lee's never going to sit here. Nobody on the federal level is going to come. And if they do, there's going to be, a swarm around them. They're going to be screening people to come in. You're never going to get to know those people. And I think Joe Rogan, in one of his comedy shows, actually said this. He said, if you're electing somebody to represent you and you have a group of 300 people, you can be pretty confident that the guy that you elected is going to be a good person, right?
Yeah.
Most people are going to know him. When you have 300 million people electing one dude,
Yeah.
nobody knows who this guy is,
Nope.
right? Nobody knows. So really all you can do is take these big pictures that the media gives you of
Propaganda.
this is who he is, right?
Propaganda.
It's propaganda. And I wanted to touch on propaganda because I think it has a big play, like the word you said, progressive, right?
Yeah.
So why is that? Why do they find a way in there? So one of the things I did, I was a 17-year officer at this time.
Yeah.
I got assigned to the U.S. Embassy over in Abu Dhabi. I was a pilot, so I'm thinking, why do we need a pilot over here? This is dumb. I don't know. Anyway, so we need other people to look at
Bureaucracy,
this stuff.
that's why.
Bureaucracy, you're exactly right. So one of the things that I learned was, what does an embassy do? Again, I was a 17-year officer, a fairly senior officer in the military.
Yeah.
I never really considered, what do we have embassies overseas for?
Yeah.
Passports, right? I don't know. You can't even get on a plane to leave the United States if you don't have a valid passport already.
Yeah.
So really, it'd only be if you lost your passport or somebody in that host nation that wants a visa.
If you go, I belong to you guys, can you help me out?
So we have this massive building. It's huge. The embassy is huge over in the Emirates. All of our embassies are.
Yeah.
Why do we need all that? The place that did the passports and the visas wasn't even in the main building. They were in the compound, but they were way over here in a corner.
Yeah.
So what's that whole big embassy building for? Weapons sales.
Yeah.
Weapons sales. So one of the things that has to happen is before the United States can sell any military technology to a foreign nation, it has to be cleared by the State Department.
Yeah.
That is the embassy. Well, State Department people don't know about military hardware and systems, so they take a chucklehead like me and they put him in the seat and say, okay, read through this so we can intelligently know what we're selling them.
Yeah.
One of the things that landed on my desk, and I'd never even seen or heard about this before, was the CA PSYOP manual. Civil affairs, psychological operations.
Yep.
It's an entire division in the Army, if you didn't know.
Oh, I guarantee it.
You can Google it. It's open source. CA PSYOP.
Yep.
Propaganda is what they do. So they have medical doctors, psychiatrists, they have psychologists, foreign area experts, language experts, and they look at this stuff and they program it. And some of the stuff is classified, but much of the stuff, when I flip through it, I see in the media. So I was a pilot in the military. When I got out, guess what I did? Pilot. All my friends are pilots, or they go to government, right? What do you think the CA PSYOP guys do when they get out? Where do you think they go to work?
Back to the government or
mainstream media, right? Fox News, CNN, anything that's printed or published that has an agenda.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he started in World War II. So the term itself, propaganda, and he's related to so many other things within our media, within our government and everything. So the word propaganda turned into PR, public relations. And then it turned into HR. So over the years, it's morphed into subtle.
They cover it up each time.
It's just like, it's okay, it's soft. So, and I'll tell you one that I touched on yesterday, the word budget. So that word really eats my core, because the term budget to me, and taxes, and this goes along with it. So it's like, is that within our budget? Whether it's state, local, federal, whatever, or your family. It's like, okay, what's in our budget? But to me, that's not a budget. That's not funds. That's your life. That's your life. That's my life. That's everybody that walks down Main Street. Everybody that pays taxes. That's the overtime that they worked. That's the dance recital that they didn't go to. That's the football game with their high school buddies that they didn't get to meet. We could go on down the line. That's all of those dollars, and every one of those dollars, I want to make sure that goes into our general funds, and our funds towards specific things are meant with passion, creativity, and the betterment of our community. That's not money for me to go, well, it's not my money. I can do whatever. It's a fund. It's a budget. No, that's your time. Everything that we've ever bought, it's never been bought with money. It's been bought with time and skills. And, that's what it's paid for with. The green things and these cards that we carry around in our pocket are worthless. It's time. It's a ticket that proves that you were somewhere and you produce something for somebody else.
You trade your life for that paper.
So that's a huge thing that really ekes me, and I've been called out for people's like, well, what's your qualifications? What's your experience? And here's the thing, the person that's in there, a lot of people want him out. And if you look at it on paper, he's the most qualified person for the job. He's the one that's been in there for 4 years. Another candidate, he's been in politics in school his whole life. The other one, he runs 2 of his own businesses. And me, I work for myself. So where's your value coming from? Somebody that's already invested, currently, somebody that has investment because, he's already been in the county politics, alderman, and then there's a guy that has a business here and he has a business in Sevierville. So, like, is his priority that business in the county, or is it going to be because the mayor seat?
Probably both. Because if you are the county mayor and you have businesses, it's good to mix, right? I know you're not supposed to, but it does.
Well, and here's the thing: like I'm not trying to call him out for that, but it's a question that's been raised on social media.
Dedicate to the job.
It's been questions that's been raised publicly, and there's been no answer. It's been crickets. Sure. There's been no engagement. If there is, I wish somebody would tag me in it. But me, I've had enough savings and a little bit of donations to carry me over for a few months to try to get through this, to run into people like, yourselves, eat breakfast with people, go to meetings. I've been to church services. I've been to family dinners. I've sat right here at the Kyle House and have probably had 40 conversations just like this with groups of people.
So what's the big takeaway from these groups? What are people looking for? What do they want you to do?
So there's several factors, and some of them are very warranted, and some of them, I'm not saying they're not warranted, but I think we need to adjust the bigger sizes of the pie
Shoot
first.
the alligator closest to the boat.
Yeah. So and I think that's something that I've seen that's more of an issue. It's like everybody wants a piece of the pie instead of going, hey, unfortunately, you guys are at the end of the line. You're not forgotten, but you're at the end of the line. We're going to adjust these bigger issues, take care of them, and then we'll work down the line. It might take some years to do this, but I'm focused on being physically secure for our county. That's my job. It's not to make you guys happy. I hope what I do produces a better outcome for the balances of our county. But so one is budget, and I had a buddy, a good friend of mine. He goes, "Well, what's your first month going to look like?" I said, honestly, probably looking at computer charts and like, okay, what are all these things? Because at the end of the day, it's numbers. Have I ever run a Fortune 500 company? No, but do I run my household? Yeah. Guess what? I want to go to Italy.
Zeros to your budget. You
Yeah.
have a big budget.
I want to go to Italy. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Switzerland. I want to go to a whole bunch of places. I want to do a bunch of things. I want to deal an M134. But you know what? That's not in my budget. So you know who I make not happy? Me. So I do the things that are within my means and the things that I want to focus on. And a lot of that's raising my son and being on my property. That's value to me.
Well, and what's going to make that a long-term option for you? Better run government.
Yep.
What's going to make that an option for your kids, for any kids?
Yep.
Probably better run government.
So we have budget focusing on what, for one, just understanding what's being funded. That's the first goal, is to understand that, not to go in there, well, I just don't like this program and throw it out. I understand that it's there, why it's there, how long it's been there, why do we need it? It's not just, well, I look at it, I don't think it's necessary, and I throw it out. Then somebody goes, hey, do you realize this program funds all these other things? Or is it benefiting to, it's like a waterhead, it leads out everywhere. So, one, looking at the budget, figuring out what has to be, what's mandated by the state to be paid for and taken care of, and then you work your way down. It's order operations of what's statistically valuable to the county. So do that, and then start making adjustments there. Another one of them is a huge want for the county. It's to clean up the roads, and that's, well, one is fixing our roads, which as the mayor I have no control over that. I can work alongside the commissioners and the road superintendent to help, possibly get grants and just be there to help. But I have no control over it. A lot of people think I do. No. So there's that. And then so the cleanup of our roads. So instead of going, hey, I want to enact a zoning or fines or whatever, I want the local government to help. I don't want them to have to help. So when I say that, it goes, grew up running heavy equipment. We've got 15 or plus, people that do excavating work in the county. So it's like, hey, just for instance, Quest Enterprise or Web Excavating, whatever. It's like, hey, are you guys willing to donate your time for a Saturday or Friday evening with a skid steer, with a mini track hoe, and then we'll get somebody to hopefully provide a dumpster, and then we'll get all these old tires and stuff out of this ditch. And there's a lot of people that I've met here that are willing to volunteer. So it's like, I can use influence from the county and going, hey, look, here's this company. We're going to put some signs up for them. And then here's these volunteers. And it's a community outreach to where everybody is benefiting from it. The people that want to help get the help. And then the companies that help, they get advertising. There's nothing wrong with giving those types of benefits.
And in the end, the county is better off for it.
Yep. When you drive down the road and go, man, that's a clean section that used to have tires. And here's another thing. So working alongside of our local law enforcement agencies, and that's Hawkins County, that's Rogersville, Mount Carmel, throughout, and then you have TWRA and TVA, depending on where these dump sites are falling. To where can we go, hey, is there some type of Wi-Fi generated trail cam that we can put up here and that shoots instant photos, and then as soon as we confirm that these people are dumping, there's no minimum fine. It's maximum. Whatever the state allows me to charge, I'm going to throw the book at them. And then I'm going to make this very public with everybody.
Sure.
With I want all the agencies. I want, everybody in the local government, the commissioners going, hey, we're going to put out signs that go, there's no longer a minimum fine. It's whatever the state allows us to charge you with, because for the tax dollars that we spend, we have convenience centers. You can drive over there and throw your trash away.
Easiest place I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Or there's a couple private owned businesses in the area that'll pick up your trash for like $26 a month.
Well, I think if you can enlist community members and get the community on board with cleaning these things up and volunteering their time, they're going to be your best resource for finding people, right? Absolutely. I see the truck driving by my house with a load of trash. I know where he's going because we've been down there cleaning that stuff up,
Yep.
and I'm going to follow. I'm going to do what I can. Call the police, take his number, right? I think you're going to get people involved in it when you turn that corner to where the people start feeling a vested interest in their community.
Because what happens is everybody, for some reason, we have got to the point to where I want you to control him.
Sure.
What and you being the government, it's like, why are we doing that?
Because you probably have a vested interest in what I'm doing, and you can use.
But I'm not bold enough, or I'm not strong enough, or I'm not willed enough to just go, hey, is there something that's going on that we could fix this issue? Well, let's say it's your neighbor and he's got a messy yard. Okay, is the guy elderly? Does he live there? Is there people throwing stuff on his property? It's like, hey, is there something that I can do to help? And the downside of that, there's always going to be people on the bottom of that. It's just going to happen. But people go, well, why don't you do this, or zoning or TCA codes or specific things? And I'm not blaming or giving credit to either one of them. But if you start pushing to where the government has more control, then if that does get enacted, there's going to be the guy that goes, well, this is on the books, and I just don't like my neighbor. So he's going to call every day and go, hey, he left this out. So I want there to be programs. I want there to be programs to go, hey, we're willing to help you. What can we do? What can we exercise as our resources to help the community?
I don't even know if that's an actual program, and I have a very specific experience that plays right into what you were saying. So while I was on the select board,
explain what the select board is.
Select board is your alderman.
Commissioner.
It's so elected. We're the elected officials that run the county.
Okay.
Not the county, our town. We ran our town. So as part of that, our code enforcement officer got a call about a house that had a lot of trash.
Yeah.
The neighbors were saying that there's rats coming over their house. So I drove by, I looked at it, there was garbage laying out back. So the kid that lived there as a kid, he's in his 20s, real hothead, drug problems, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I drove over, had a trash bag in my hand, knocked on his door. He was all fired up. He came out yelling, screaming, get off my property, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So I'm back and said, listen, man, this is what's going on. I said, we've got a complaint. The code enforcement officer is going to come and he's going to fine you if we don't clean the trash up.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you. Let's clean the trash up. Let's take care of it, right? So we didn't have the convenience centers like you have. You have to pay to get rid of your trash.
Yeah.
So look, we'll collect everything. Well, I brought the big trash bags. So let's get all the trash. Let's put it in the bags. We'll take it away. I'll help you figure out who can get your trash out of here so we don't have a problem anymore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be as helpful as I can. The dude was high and right the whole time, yelling, screaming, didn't want my help, get out of here, fuck you, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can't win with that. And I walked away and said, listen, buddy, I'm trying to help you. The code enforcement officer is going to come back. You can yell and scream all day long. He's going to fine you, right? Now you're going to have to pay money and pick the stuff up. So there's not always going to be a win with that or a program that can handle that. I think just going out and being yourself and saying, all right, this person's got a problem. So when somebody would complain at a town meeting about, these dump trucks are turning here, they're getting on my lawn. I would go out to their house. I'll sit there. I'll shoot the shit with them. Is it happening or is it not happening? if it is happening, hey, I'm going to go over. I'm not going to go, try to torture them, but go talk to people.
And here's the thing that people have to realize. Like, I want people to believe, in me and have like a notion that I want to be honest. I want to have the integrity that it takes to say no and say yes in the right instances, whether they're looking or not. Like, that's the thing. But I know that's.
Can I get a picture of your shirt?
Yes.
That's
I gotta show my daughter.
so that's an inalienable thought, because the thing is, like, whether
That's
you're a Christian or not, they
Thank you.
killed
I love it.
the most perfect man that ever walked the earth.
I'm gonna get me one of
He
those.
was crucified. The most perfect man that ever walked the earth was crucified. So what do you think that I'm gonna do to convince people that, like, what I want is, the best thing? So some people you just can't please.
No, I think it comes down to personality. Some people have a personality of, I want to get involved because I want to help things, I want to make them better.
Yeah.
Some people get involved in politics. And I think probably more so than those with good intent, people get involved in politics because they have a vested interest in it.
Yeah.
Right? I want to control more
Yep.
business. I want to maybe try to regulate my competitors a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or I simply want to be in charge, right? I
Yeah.
think it was H.L. Mencken had a quote and said, the desire to help a population is almost always a cover
Yeah.
for the desire
Yeah.
to rule a population.
Well, it was. Anyways, the quote that says the worst words that you'll ever want to hear is somebody knocking at your door and says, "I'm from the government."
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald
Yeah,
Reagan,
I don't know why
right?
my brain just would not. I mean, I could literally watch that speech in my head.
But he's right.
Yeah,
He's right.
I'm from the government.
It's never good when they show up. Almost
Yeah.
never good when they
And
show up.
somebody will probably call me out from that. It's fine. You do what you want. You do what you want.
No, I think in the end, in my personal opinion, what makes a good representative, a good elected
Yeah.
representative for me, is a person who is honest. You can talk to that person
Yeah.
and feel like what you're saying is being heard. Look, if it's within if it's within my abilities to
Yeah.
get done, I can get this done. Or hey, we need to have a talk
Yeah.
about it because other people probably think
Well,
opposite.
and here's the thing too. That's like, obviously, if I'm elected, it's, I quote unquote, I'm the mayor. But the thing is like, it's a whole inner working of people in the offices. It's the commissioners, it's the boards, and everything. So it's just like,
Yeah, you don't get
what?
to be a dictator.
Yeah, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? It's just like, or they want to play gotcha. They ask these really specific questions, and it's just like, is this the apocalypse? Because everybody that's got elected the first time. You can't be elected the third and fourth and fifth time without the first. So, and then they learned, and then they either got voted out, or people go, I have enough confidence in him to continue. Period. And people was like, oh, well, this and what's your scale? I'm like, well, my scale's my household. Do you want me to show you my budget and then the county show me theirs?
Well, again, my budget, my house budget,
Yeah.
is really no different than a federal budget, right? Add a bunch of zeros after
Yep.
your number, and that's
Yep.
all you're dealing with, right?
Yep.
The
If your groceries
underlying
cost
principles,
$100,000,
right? They remain the same, right?
Yep.
You don't get to spend more money than you make in your household budget,
Yep.
right? It doesn't work, right?
Yep.
Now you get a deficit.
Yep.
Understanding that is understanding a federal
Yeah.
budget. It's
Yep.
the same way, right?
Yeah.
How much money do we have coming in?
Yep.
What are our bills? Okay, if those two don't match, well, we need to cut back on our bills, or we need to make more money, or maybe both, right?
Yeah, and the make money part is building industry, raising taxes, or finding grants. I don't want to raise taxes, so we need to focus on expanding the industry that we have, and finding grant money. Along with the money that we bring in for the county and focusing on it. That's as simple as you can get it.
So we did a lot of grant writing up in Maine while I was there. We did a couple of fairly large projects for our small community. We actually got out of our school district. So
Yeah.
we were in a school district it was an underperforming. They lost their accreditation and they got a grade of F.
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity to switch to another school district
Yeah.
When we started, we went to the state of Maine, MMA, the Maine Municipal Association, and basically is our Google for government stuff. We can call them up and say, this is what needs to happen. Oh, you need to have a special town meeting. You need to set around $30,000 aside for legal fees to get this. They basically were trying to tell us that it's almost impossible. You can't do this. We ended up doing it in a year, and it cost us $500. So we got to a better school district. So we have 38 school-age kids in our town. 38 of them. The town itself was raising and apportioning taxes, $438,000 to educate these 38 kids, right? The state matching was $500,000. So we're talking $1 million was going to this school to educate our 38 kids, an unaccredited degree. So, I guess if you're a competitive college applicant and you're unaccredited, it could hinder you.
Or you could have just took that $1 million, divided it 40 ways, and put it into CDs, and those kids would have been fine.
Exactly.
So the numbers that we deal with, and I'm talking a small town. We have 330-something people in our town. So it's a small town. And we're raising large sums of money. It's Maine, so it's a very high-tax state anyway. And I look at where these monies are going, to your point, it's almost always wasted. So our county executive, basically they were on their own. They did whatever they want. We're in control of the individual towns. So we actually voted as a town at our annual town meeting not to pay our county tax bill. It's illegal, right? The very next day, literally, MMA was blowing up our phone lines. You have to pay that. You can't not pay this. Listen, the citizens voted not to pay this. The next town meeting, we had the county executive and we had the county sheriff at our town meeting, our little town hall. They were there. I mean, they got dragged over the coals. This guy, his salary was like $200,000. Like, I'm talking northern Maine. Like, the average person makes $50,000 a year. This guy's making tons. They bought like a $7,000 map printer so they could print off. Like, who's allocating this money? They did a no bid buying and selling of the municipal vehicles. So the police departments and all that stuff. There was no bid to buy the cars. It's whatever local dealer wanted for them, the county paid. And when they sold the vehicles, they were basically sold. Whoever the first bidder was that wanted them, got them. So these dealerships are buying the cars back from them for pennies on the dollar.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the guys are getting kickbacks. It's a small town. There's things happening there. You can't vote them out because they have such a monopoly. They control all the businessmen, know who they are. The businessmen are getting either soft deals or good deals. So it's those intangibles that poisons it for everyone.
Well, and a lot of it too is based on voter numbers. Like you said, you were from a small town, so you were a municipality, but like our county, and I've hammered this fact. Like I want everybody to be very clear that I have hammered this, and I've been one of the only people that actually put these numbers out. Is we have roughly 60,000 residents in the county, 38,800 registered voters. The last primary was 6,580 people that voted, roughly 17%. So, and then that's the whole thing about what we were talking about with the school system earlier, was there's not a huge push to bring new voters in and inform them, because if this 6,500 people got me elected, that's who I want to continue to vote.
That's your core.
Because if
those
those
are the 6,500 people running the town.
Yep. So if you go and of those 6,500 people, they voted, but the percentile of that 6,500 was the majority, and then so it's just like, this is what we're going to keep feeding.
Sure.
We're going to keep grabbing out of the same pond and expecting a different fish, because I've heard so many people go. They're like, hey, I don't know what we need, but we need something different. And I'm like, I'm waving a giant flag going, I'm different. And I'm putting out information. This isn't me just labeling, my campaign, I'm something different. Like, I'm labeling my campaign as me being transparent, me being available to people, having this interaction. This was not a scripted interaction at all. I seen your truck in the
promise you, I've never met this man before in my life.
I seen his truck in the parking lot, and I was like, that's awesome. So I come back in here and go, how can I talk to this guy? About his truck.
I think that's a good way ahead, because you never know who's standing next to you unless you ask, unless you engage that person to find out what their stories are. Look, does this person have good ideas? Can they help me in my job?
Yeah.
Maybe, right? Maybe you learn they're not. So
Yeah.
you have to focus on that 6,500 people
Yep.
that are coming, that are interested, that are involved.
Yep.
But you can't forget about those people who don't come.
Well, the thing is too, and I can show you in my personal messages how many people have reached out to me that are roughly plus or minus my age, that's never voted before, never registered, and go, how do I register? How can I vote for you? And I'm like, come to me, or here's the website. You can go to the election office, whatever. I have paperwork. Whatever you need, I will take care of you. I will bring it to you right now. I don't care if it's 12 o'clock at night. If you want to be registered to vote and actually see that I'm worthy of your vote, man, that's awesome. That's such a huge change to me. And if I don't get it, the people that I've got to meet, the conversations that I've got to have been worth every bit of it. It's been a lot of long nights. I can show you my phone, my notes, and the hours that they're logged are from 7 a.m. to 9 to 10 to 12 to this. That's what I was doing here by myself before I met you guys. I'm writing notes, I'm writing responses to people, and then while I'm feeding my son, I'm thinking about this stuff. While I'm putting him to bed, I've put him to bed. Now I've sat down on the couch and I see an article or somebody's tried to reply to me or sent me a message, and then I go to my notes and it's like, is there anything in here that I can send them or send them to this link? So it's an onslaught. There's a graph that has no rhyme or reason, but when you see it's the time to tackle it. And that's what, my notes will show, is whether it's, during the day or it's 1 o'clock in the morning because I can't sleep, because I'm rolling through trying to convey messages, and the videos that I've put out, like some of them are me on my porch, some of them are me walking through town. And it's like, when I get that, I try to push that idea and thought process out as much as I can in the moment, because sometimes like writing it down in my notes and then coming back to it, I didn't write enough of the details to kind of get the grasp of what I really wanted to push, that thought, or what I want to do, or just convey to everybody else, like how my brain is working. I want it to be as clear as possible.
I think once you find that project that you're passionate about, you can speak to people about it fluently and quickly without having to, get back in my notes, which it can turn people off a little bit. So when you find that thing that you're passionate about, and maybe there's that one project that people want here. So that project for me, and I got it passed in our town. I think it was very beneficial, and several other towns around us passed it. It was called the Food Sovereignty Act. Okay. So the Food Sovereignty Act in Maine was born out of the fact that raw milk sales are illegal, much like they are here in Tennessee. So what the Food Sovereignty Act did, each town enacted it and passed it on itself. And essentially what it said was, inside the municipality, so
it's a sanctuary municipality.
So if we had Rogersville, for example, inside Rogersville,
look at me using big words, guys.
With this Food Sovereignty Act, anything that is produced in or on your home or your farm can be sold in or on your farm without a food preparation certificate or things like that. So if you wanted to bake cookies in your house, you want to sell those cookies out of your house, that's legal. There is no liability to the town. The only people that bear the liability are you, the producer, and the person buying it. So the raw milk sales, for example, we set it up so if you wanted to buy raw milk, because we had an Amish dairy in our town, they wanted to deliver milk. I think this is a great idea. But the law was written that the sale has to take place on the farm. So the idea is that the consumer goes to the place of production and sees with their own eyes.
That way you're not setting up in a parking lot. Well,
that's right.
Well, this guy, you were in this form.
You can't bring it to the farmer's market. We couldn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to show up and you have to be visually informed as much as you possibly can. That way you go, well, I know that it came from this facility, not out of a truck bed or out of neglected animals or anything like that.
Right. So you get to see that for yourself. So the opposite of that is the FDA, or not the FDA, the food processors. Right? They're inspecting it. They're saying we grade this is safe. But, you can get Jack in the Box. All these people get sick. So we have failures in that as well. But with the Food Sovereignty Act, it's only between you, the producer, and the consumer.
Well, I think that's the way a lot of things should be. Like
that's the way it used to be in the 50s and prior, right?
Well, you were talking about like being, in the community and discussing stuff. Like, this was years ago. There was an old man. His name was Frank Farrow here in town, He was an absolute godsend to everybody that he met. He was a world missionary. He had bought every place that he set up a mission in every country. When he left, he gave it to the community.
Oh, wow.
The house, the facilities, the animals, he gave it to, like, he paid for it. And then when he left, he gave it to the community. And then when he got over here, or back to Roswell, I don't know where he started out, but he ran a radio, evangelical radio station. So, and I met him through a friend of mine, the Littles. So I grew up down the road from them. I was the same age as their boys. So I stayed over there all the time. And then growing up, because my family, we're a tight-knit family, but we didn't scale holidays and things the way that a lot of other people do, like Christmases and Thanksgivings, the big to-dos and stuff like that. So, like growing up, I've always had the gift of gab. So, there at one point for like 10 years, I was going to like 6 Thanksgivings. And I was so full. Just deviled eggs coming out of my ears, And I wouldn't change it for anything because these were all my family.
Yeah.
Every one of these places were my family. And then sitting there, and I couldn't have been no more like 17 or 18. I think it was the last year that Frank was still alive, maybe a couple years or whatever. But we're having a discussion at the table, and we're at the Little's house, and it's a long table, and one side's a church pew, and the other side, there's just, we're packed all the way around this table in this small kitchen. And, it felt like a grand room just because of the company we were in. But I'm having this discussion, and, this is 20 plus years ago. And he goes, have you ever thought about getting into politics? And this didn't hit me till like the other day. And it's like, wow, like the circle, because my idea of getting into politics is like, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a community member that sees things that need to change. But I was driving down the road, so I've been campaigning for like 3 months, and then I'm just driving and talking about writing all the notes and stuff. I'm like, and then boom, this one segment out of part of my childhood stands out to where I'm sitting right here and I'm looking across diagonally over the table, and Frank and his wife Susan. He goes, have you thought about getting into politics? And it's as clear as I've ever heard anything that stuck with me for that long. Because at that time, and I still, my idea of a good time and dream job is traveling around, hanging out with friends, shooting stuff, having adventures.
That's exactly what a politician is. What's the number one thing a politician needs to be able to do? Relate to people, all kinds of people. What does that mean? You gotta be a chatty person. You gotta be able to engage and talk and carry a conversation, even when you're not interested in it, right?
And have the ability to say yes and no.
Right? And remember what you said, right? So all these things are very important. Like if you're a very chatty person, people might recommend politics because that's one of the first things that you have to have. You have to be able to relate to people. And I'll call up a couple people. Barack Obama. A master. I don't care if you
articulate.
You don't have to agree with what he's saying, but when he's speaking, he carries an audience, right? He changes his tempo. He keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton was that way.
Yep.
Donald Trump is that way. I'll tell you.
Different. But he still has that.
I'll tell you 2 guys that I've had the utmost respect for, and I thought they would make great presidents until I heard them talk. Ron Paul was the first one, right? That man has beautiful, great ideas from a libertarian mindset.
Yeah.
He opens his mouth. He's got this really mousy voice. He can't really. Nobody listens to him, right?
Yeah.
It's a tragedy because he could have done great things for the country. However, with his voice, he can't. Ben Carson is the other one in modern times.
I met Ben Carson.
Man is a genius. He's brilliant, right? He got up there on the podium at the presidential debate.
Yep.
Literally, he started talking, and you could see the audience was kind of like they start talking to each other, looking at their phones. He couldn't keep their attention. So having the ability that you have to keep someone's attention, right? To keep a good, I don't know how long it's going, an hour, right? Maybe
hour and 18 minutes.
Right?
Hour and 19
so
minutes.
So to keep this conversation going, I'm sure you've met people that it's a struggle. It's a struggle to keep it. You're always having to pull it out of them, right? So a good orator, a good speaker, a good politician can speak to anybody about anything.
I'll tell you why I've referenced community members so much rather than politician, because I had 2 interviews in the same day from news outlets. One was WJHL, a younger kid, I think he's 19 or 20, super great guy. Just very nice, humble, trying to figure stuff out, wanting to talk to people. You know, he sets up the camera, blah, blah, blah. And, I talked with him, and it carries on for 20, 30 minutes, whatever, so we're done. But earlier that day, I ran into the reporter from Times News. And it was actually at an election committee board meeting, where they're preparing the ballots and everything. So they're like, you can attend, you just can't say anything. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting back there and I'm like, okay. Then I leave after everything's done. And walking out, the reporter goes, hey, are you Ken Stapleton? I said, yeah. And she's like, well, I'm with Kingsport Times News. She's, can I do a segment on you? Absolutely. So I was like, I have this appointment with WJHL, and as soon as they're done, I invite you to my home, and I have everything set up already. I've got nice chairs, table, we can sit down and talk. She shows up. I pretty much talk for 25 minutes. She doesn't take any pictures. She doesn't record anything. And then it comes out, a few weeks later, a month or whatever, I never paid attention to it. And my buddy sends me a text, and he's like, hey, they kind of, threw you under the bus. And I was like, I'm not worried about it. So the next day, I get screenshots, and it gives the other candidates nice little paragraphs, blah, 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 business owner, politician, blah, blah, blah. Kenneth Stapleton, community member. So now I've embraced it, and then like these pins, I have these pins that say community member on it.
Nice.
So I don't want to be labeled as a politician.
That's the best way to go, right? You're not going to win fighting it.
No. What am I going to do? Just sit there and sling mud? I think
why
that does more good.
Why do you think she did that?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I hope that she just maybe lost all of her notes.
No, I don't know. If you're a professional reporter and you lose your notes, you don't print the story, right? You don't print some...
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is there's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason people do these things, right? And it's not. Sometimes it's subconscious, and it goes back to the CSI manual and propaganda, right? Good propaganda is that propaganda which you don't know you've gotten.
Yeah.
Right. So if you feel it, and I think the easiest way to recognize that is when you suddenly hate or like something, and you don't really know. Well, that person mentioned something. I'm really angry now. Why? Like you've been propagandized.
Oh yeah.
So
it's a form of tribalism too. Yeah, it's just like driving down the road and seeing a car that has an Alabama A on the back glass and going, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I bet you they've not even been to Alabama?
Could be the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, or just whatever it is. It's like I live in Tennessee, so everybody should be in Tennessee.
Right, and you immediately don't like that person.
Yeah. So like to me, I have a form of tribalism, but it's backed by the values our founding fathers established. America.
Yeah.
The right to representation, the right for religious beliefs. We've got all of that our founding fathers, and now that we have those rights, we have an entire populace that's going, you can do whatever. And guess what? Our founding fathers, they were paying taxes, and the crowd's going, don't care about you, just give me your money. And now that we have a voice along with our taxes, we just give them our taxes and no voice.
That's right. You don't show up. Because people have, again, instead of going to the town meeting, the education, right? To know that this is where I make the change, right? Here, I go to the town meeting. Instead, they get on their thing and they do this.
Yep.
And of course, people are making billions, if not trillions of dollars off of it.
Yeah.
But nothing's changing.
Yeah.
So what we've moved the water cooler into your hands so people can get around the water cooler and do this. Instead of going to the meeting, well, if I go to the meeting, I'm going to have to talk to you directly.
Yeah.
And when I say something that's incorrect and you go, well, that's not what I'm saying. What I said was this.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel dumb, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can sit here online and trash you all day long and never have to face you.
Well, that's the thing. People, I've addressed that. I'm like, it's your freedom of speech. You're fine. You're not bothering me because you know what I'm doing? I'm living rent free in their head. They're talking to me to somebody else. And then, whether they know who I am or not, it's like, well, why was that guy giving that guy a hard time? Let me look him up.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this guy's actually got a lot of good things to say. What is this guy's vendetta against this guy?
Look, I think I can speak to anybody from, if you're far left, if you're far right, if you're dead in the middle, I can have a conversation with you, and I think we can have a good conversation.
This is like the Twilight Zone. This is 1000% the Twilight Zone, because if you watch the video that I put out yesterday up on my hillside where me and my papa used to have campfires above my house, it's like almost verbatim is what I'm telling you. I will show you the link after we're done, and then you can watch this, because I have addressed that, because in the community that there's been some mud throwing, with some events, and one establishment tried to do a debate. All the candidates backed out of the debate, but one. This guy. But so the GOP, what happened is they had theirs precursor, and then the GOP puts. They're like, well, hey, we'll have a Republican, question and answer or whatever, and it's up to the candidates to what they want to do. And let me make that very clear. It was the candidates that backed out of the situations. So the GOP, obviously, with the regards to the Republican Party, they viewed it one way. They're like, hey, we do not want our people attacked. And I understand it to a point, but I'm also an adult, and I respect them for keeping my values in mind. But when it comes down to hard questions, I'm willing to answer them. That's the stance I
It's a
take.
hard question. You're attacking me. It's words. If you can't answer, look. If the sender of the question isn't very bright and they just come across real heavy-handed, that's different. But if they're attacking you by digging into your policy or where you stand on it, I think that's fair.
And I agree with that. But part of it. This was based on the sheriffs and the mayoral candidates. So the sheriff's race, there's some issues between some of the candidates. There's actually an ongoing case. So I agree with it in a way, and I understand the stance that some of the sheriff's candidates took. Do I agree with it? Somewhat. Do I disagree with it? Somewhat as well. But the thing is, if some of those candidates they got to the point to where they asked questions about that ongoing case, they can't say anything, whether they're right or wrong. So, and then what light does that put them in? I'm not for sure. So I understand.
Not a good one.
So it's just like, I can't answer your question, and there's several people involved in that with that. So do I 100% agree with it? With the way they chose to do it, yes and no. But the mayor's side of it, like, what are you going to do? Play gotcha with me? Like, what, you're going to throw some financial zinger out there to me? I can just tell you I don't know. And like I said, it's not towards that group. I said I'm willing to speak with anybody, whether it's you, right, left, center. Our Constitution states we the people, and if I get elected, I'm a conservative Republican. But guess what? I service the whole county. I'm an elected official that has the best view of the entire county in mind. So the candidates, they backed out of the other one in favor of the GOP. And that's not the GOP's fault. That's not the other group's fault. To me, that's solely on the candidates. Mm-hmm. And if you want to ask them, ask them. Because there's people playing armchair quarterback and defending other people's ideologies and views. No, ask them and then make your decisions from there.
I mean, your race is hundreds of times larger than anything we did in my little town of Parham.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, even in my little town of Parham, people will bitch and squabble about if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, and you only listen to them because people will take it down to the smallest of the small and try to make money out of that. Look,
I would love to get like this level of content coverage, because I've asked people in elected positions, and I've asked people, and some of them were really up for it, like at the beginning. Then I don't know if just people around them are persuading them certain ways, because now I asked them and they were really into it at first, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get around to it. And it's just like, are the people that you're backing you not backing me? Or it's like, why are we afraid of conversation? But like this, I would love to get this to like the Sean Ryan level.
podcast.
Like I'm shouting out Sean Ryan's podcast right now. I'll totally do an interview. I know you guys got way bigger fish on there than me, but it is a local elected race in Tennessee, and I know you're in Middle Tennessee, so.
Yeah, great story.
Oh yeah, but no, I love him because he just doesn't care.
Well, I think he cares a lot.
Well, I mean,
But he doesn't care about the paradigm.
Yeah.
What he cares about is your story and making sure your story gets put out.
Because he's like, dude, I face this every day. I get phone calls and it's like, hey, you're gonna lose endorsement from me if you air this or don't air that, or you've got to cut that part of the story. He goes, if I have to cut a part of the story, I don't publish any of it.
Well, it comes down to money. That's the only reason, right? People are in this for the money. So take your.
Well, right now, I mean, Sean Ryan's.
Look at your race. Like, look, people are, I got a lawsuit going on. I don't want to talk about this, right? There's all these nefarious things going on, and people trying to do the gotcha stuff at the lowest level in politics because that's the sport now, right?
Yeah.
Now translate that to the federal level.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what those guys deal with?
Well, that's like, I'm sure you've seen it with like all the news channels, like they put on there, it shows the exact same propaganda that's played verbatim. It's like, we weren't there. And it's like, and then it goes, CNN, Fox, WN, all this is like, we weren't there. It's just different people and backgrounds, but it's the same rhetoric.
People have forgotten of all those mainstream media sites.
Yeah.
You know how many news agencies there are that produce it?
2.
AP and Reuters, right?
Yeah.
What does every story say? AP or Reuters. So they put out the news, then CNN, Fox, whoever, they scrub it to make it fit their audience, and then they send it out, right? So we're not really getting any news per se.
No.
You're being told what they want you to hear, and that's all the way down to this level of the race, right? You find that's going on.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's getting worse with social media because you have groups now that can come together like
And AI.
and AI, very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I'm afraid when I look at something. I'm afraid to share things.
I posted a buddy made it for me. I have a picture of me in front of the courthouse dressed up like that. It's actually a buddy took of me, a formal picture. And so my buddy, I'm sitting there in bed one night, and he sends me these pictures of me holding an American flag, me doing a handstand, me on a horse. And I posted the one of me on a horse. Dude, people loved it. They're like, this is awesome. And then I told them, I was like, this is AI. And then one person's like, oh, you're into AI and you're all, in all this technology. I'm like, if you come to my house, it's hammers and chainsaws.
Yes.
There's guns, hammers, chainsaws, knives, a 4-year-old, a Belgian Malinois that wants to bite things. I have that thing. I'll tell you how and this is, a plus and a minus, and I know how to operate a computer, I know how to type, and I know how to search what I want. But it's not something that motivates me, so every time I actually have to get on my computer, actually to do computer work that I can't take care of on my phone, which now, that's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But if I have to go back to my phone, data logging my car, because it's a turbo car. So data logging in.
She's ready to chase us out.
Yeah.
Just about.
We'll get there. So every time I have to data log in and send tunes to Ryan, I have to. It takes me 30 minutes to get back into my computer because I have taped. I forgot all of my passwords, and I need to just get a silver Sharpie and write it on my thing. Well, hey, we're gonna go outside. We're gonna end this video. Thank you. And your name?
Mark Ellerman.
Mark Ellerman.
It's my wife, Erin.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, everybody, push this to Sean Ryan. I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel as well.